Okay, so good evening to everyone, and welcome to our 8th edition of Real Talk with our political leader, Honorable Dr. Thompson Fontaine. Today is Monday, the 29th of September 2025, and Doc realized that September is coming to a close. Very much so, September is coming to a close. And tonight we will focus on the conduct of elections in Dominica. We will explore some statistics that will give you, the audience, an understanding of what has transpired over the election cycle, a few election cycles. We will also look at the terrible practices that the DLP has been involved in over the past election cycles. And obviously, we will also echo the need for a clean voters list. Tonight, we can be reached, or you can join us on the party's YouTube channel at uwp.com, at UWP Team Dominica, UWP Facebook page, uwp-dominica.com, and push past 10 media. This one always a tongue twister for me, but tonight I hook it well, Doctor. So, Doc, welcome tonight. And as usual, we are in for an interactive session. And as usual, our little chit chat. I mean, how was the weekend? I know that you have had a lot going on for you. You've been all over the place. Tell us what is happening.
Well, so this weekend was no different from most of the past weekends. Basically, spending time in various constituencies, meeting people, and just getting a sense as to what people are thinking, what people are saying about the economy, about the state of politics. And I can tell it's been very exciting. It's very good to get a first-hand view or first-hand account of what is going on across Dominica. And yeah, it has been very, very, very good, I must say, and I'm very happy for these kinds of opportunities to be able to interact with our people and just to share time with them on the ground. And it is going very well. I think people are the main message I'm hearing is that people really want to vote. They're really anxious to vote this Labour Party government out of office. And I think that is very encouraging. And it's something as a party we just have to continue to build upon.
Yes, certainly. And as recently as Saturday, the 27th of September, we've had the opening of our independence celebrations. And we all wish the independence celebrations well. It is customary that Dominicans support and follow the activities and patronize where applicable. And we would like to urge them to continue to do so. But the only thing about that is that, Doc, when when there's an opening of activities like Independence, Carnival, and other activities, there's always something that actually happens because we have most of the activities at the forecourt at the stadium. Obviously, there's a pause on sports, and then the whole sports arena is closed down to put music systems, stage, and everything in the area. And so, for the next month or so, the whole area where people recreate in terms of sporting activities, obviously, the people of Roseau again have to suffer for another 6 weeks.
And yeah, that's very unfortunate. We wish there was a permanent spot where these activities could take place and allow the sports to go ahead. Because in the world of sports, you have to be constantly at it. You can't take a month's break and hope to perform at any high level. So it's very unfortunate because we know that that's where the volleyballers in particular have been practicing, and some basketball have been taking place as well. So the fact that all that is coming to a halt is not very good. It just shows again.
Yes.
How many years, for example, we're talking about the Arrow House of Culture. I mean, that place should have been expanded and should have been the major place where you have all of those activities. But we have not seen that. We have not seen that at all, and that's truly unfortunate.
Yes, and you're correct. And also too, we are hearing about the Regional Security Service in Dominica, the RSS, and a lot of speculations are going on. We don't know for sure what is happening, but we've heard that some people have the view that probably they're on a mission to take some action. Some have the view that probably elections are on. Whatever the case, his government has been very secretive, and the people of Dominica, they have a right to know if you have the Regional Security Service in Dominica. And also too, I'm hearing, I was just brought to my attention, Doc, that the Chinese will return too. First time I'm hearing that, and The Chinese were written to those that operate stores in Dominica, and they were told that do not order anything for Christmas because they're probably, supposedly, allegedly, a member of government, a parliamentary representative of government, supposedly, quote unquote, maybe ordering some things from China, and we may have to have a yacht sale. And I have advised the Chinese not to order for Christmas for competition. I don't know what is that. I'm looking forward to see that, but I'm telling you, that's strange and strange.
It would be interesting. It would be interesting to get that straight, to get that incredible.
Right.
To get that bit of news. But it is true though that the RSS are here. I've seen them, physically seen them present in Dominica. We were told today by the Prime Minister that they are there to assist our local police. So we'll see how that goes down.
Yes. And so we are going straight into our action, and let me just say good night to everyone. And for those who have tuned in a little late, we said that our focus tonight will be on the elections, the conduct of elections, and let me just give a preamble of the whole situation with respect to elections in a free democracy, in a democracy where people have a right to. And let me just say that elections are essential. Elections are essential feature of democracy. For elections to express the will, for elections to be expressed or the will of the electorate, they must be free and fair. It is obvious. Free means that all those entitled to vote have the right to be registered and to vote, and must be free to make their choice. An election is considered free, obviously, when you can decide whether or not to vote and vote freely for the candidate or party of your choice without fear or intimidation. That's a fact. Fear means that all registered political parties have an equal right to contest the elections, campaign for voter support, and hold meetings and rallies. This gives them a fair chance to convince voters to vote for them. A fair election is also one in which all voters have an equal opportunity to register, where all votes are counted, and where all announced results reflect the actual votes or vote total. So there should be no discrepancy with the amount of stubs that were issued to the electors. And at the end of the exercise, when the whole voting process is over, the number of stubs issued for voting should be the number of votes cast, and where applicable, if votes are bad and so that you have to take for spoil ballot, take into account spoil ballots. But at all times, the number of election tickets or dockets given to vote must be accounted for at the end of the exercise. So, Doc, let me go straight into it and ask, Doc, what can you tell us about the conduct of elections in Dominica? And I know for sure that you will have a statistical aspect of it with respect to what has happened over the past election cycle, a few of them, so that people can understand what has transpired. So tell us the state and conduct of elections in Dominica.
Well, yes. So I am. What I'm going to be doing is to actually show the what exactly has been going on as far as our elections are concerned in Dominica, and we're entitling this one an overview. And I want to spend a little bit of time tonight actually discussing the whole question of elections in Dominica. But more importantly, for this first one, we'll do it over two cycles. But for this first cycle, I would really like to look at the results of the past election, have a discussion around it. Because I suspect that when people hear about the wins of the Labour Party and the tens of thousands and millions of dollars that they spend. So we had proof, for example, in 2009, they spent over $20 million. And, that has obviously gone up in subsequent elections. But when you look at the margin of victory, it's extremely small, in some cases less than 1%, less than 2%, extremely small margin. So what we'll do tonight is we'll go through the elections going back to 2000. That's the time the United Workers' Party lost the election. So we are not talking about 1995 because the UWP was in office from 1995 to 2000. there were elections in 2000. So we're going to look at the elections in 2000, 2005, 2009, 2014, and 2019. And we will see from those statistics, you'll see the influence, the money influence coming into the elections. But what you will see also is the fact that the margin of victory is extremely, extremely small. So that in spite of all of these largesse, all of these monies that, are spending us 1,000 to 1 or probably 10,000 to $1, it has not really translated to a lot of votes for the Labour Party, notwithstanding the margins that they have in Parliament. So the numbers do not lie, and that's what we're going to be looking at. So we're going to look at the historical background of elections in Dominica, and we are going to take the analysis for those election years. So we're going to start, as I said, with 2000, the year 2000, and I'm going to bring this up so that you can have a very clear view of it. All right, and this is the results of the 2000 general elections in Dominica, where the United Workers' Party won 9 seats, the Dominica Labour Party won 9 seats, the Dominica Freedom Party won 2 seats. Okay, so that was what happened in the 2000 elections. Now, I did not put these seats, but I'm sure that everybody knows the seats that were won by the Labour Party and the Freedom Party and so on. But the focus I wanted to put on is the margin of victory. Okay, it's just how small the margin of victory was for the Labour Party. In fact, it took the Freedom Party joining together with the Labour Party to form the government. We all remember that. And after that, we had the switching from the United Workers' Party of Lauren Bannis, who switched over to the Dominica Labour Party. Okay, but if you look at 2 constituencies where if we had a different result there, and that was when in 2000, we don't think there was a huge influence of money in the election. So that gives a very good baseline to work with. So what we observe here is that the Soufriere constituency, the United Workers' Party got 814 votes, the Dominica Freedom Party got 892 votes, and the Labour Party only got 37 votes. So in other words, the difference between the DFP and the UWP was only 78 votes, okay? Considering that was a constituency, one of the strongest constituencies of the Dominica Freedom Party, a constituency that they had carried even when Labour was in office. So from the very beginning, 1980, they were carrying the Soufriere constituency. You remember the famous Mr. Moise, who was in Parliament for many, many years. And at the end of the day, we only lost there by a difference of 78 votes. And then the St. Joseph constituency, a difference of, guess what, 5 votes. United Workers' Party getting 999 votes, and the Dominica Labour Party 104 votes. So we had a difference of 5 votes. In other words, 83 votes stood between the United Workers' Party winning and losing that 2000 general elections.
That's correct.
So when people think it's a huge blowout, but 83 votes, 83 votes is votes that you can overcome relatively easily. Okay, so that was in the year 2000. We are going to move forward now because the story gets very, very interesting, and we'll do a summary at the end. So those of you who might have missed the earlier years will get the summary at the end. But let's move on now to the next year, the next election, which was in 2005. In that election, the United Workers' Party won 8 seats, the Dominica Labour Party 12, and there was an independent candidate from Collio with 1 seat. All right. So that means to get into office, we had to take 3 seats from the Dominica Labour Party. All right. We had to gain 3 of those seats because they gained 3 and we lost 3. They gained 3 of ours. 3 of those that we had previously, the Cassibros seat. You remember that very famous election?
Oh, yes, certainly.
On recount, on recount, Lauren Bannis won by 1 vote, 799 to 798. And that is why, we tell people over and over again that every vote matters.
Right.
So where you have almost 1,600 votes, 1 vote made the difference. 1 vote. So that could have gone in any direction. I think that was one of the closest we've had. And I think the next closest would be what happened in Grand Forks. But that shows you how close it was then in 2005. Okay? So the Sally Bear constituency, difference of only 88 votes. Okay, so that constituency was solidly United Workers' Party, and just a difference of 88 votes. And then for the St. Joseph constituency, United Workers' Party 991 votes, and the Dominica Labour Party 1,112 votes, a difference of 121. If you combine those 3 constituencies, which we could have won, we see we lost the election by 210 votes.
Very close.
Extremely close.
Very extremely
votes. 210 votes. So when you consider that in the election in the following year, or 9 years later, in 2014, in one constituency, the United Workers' Party overturned over 1,000 Labour Party votes.
Votes, of course.
So it means that 210 votes is something that is well within reach. All right. So the numbers are important for us as we move along. That's the year 2005. So we've lost by 210 votes. Then the Labour Party say, boy, they cannot continue being that close. They need to do something. And that's where we began to see, in the biggest, largest part, we began to see the stealing of elections. That was when people began to be imported in very large numbers from overseas, in targeted constituencies, and the corrupting influence of the lack of campaign finance reform continue or began to raise ugly head in Dominica politics. But even with that largesse, even with that huge inflow of resources into the politics, the numbers were not much for them, right? But that's 2005. But see what happened as the money came in. United Workers' Party, 8 seats. We go now to the 2009 elections, and the UWP has only 3 seats now in 2009. The Labour Party has 18 seats. So that means we actually gave up 5 seats, but there are 8 that we could have won. Okay, there were 8 seats that the United Workers' Party could have won. All right, that was 2009. So again, let's look at the 8 closest seats and the margins there, and you'll see that these are small number of votes, very, very small number of votes. Okay, so we have the Grand Forks Mon John constituency, which constitutes Grand Forks, River Syriac, and Mon John. DLP 528, Workers' Party 523, a difference of 5 votes. The La Plaine constituency, all right, 722, 724, difference of 2 votes. All right, so we had 1 in Castibros the year before. Now we have 2 in La Plaine. Okay, so that means 3 of our supporters who did not go to vote on that day cost us the election. All right, so we had 3 of our supporters who stayed home, thinking that we were going to win easily and did not show up. And that's the reason, again, why we encourage everyone who supports the party to come out. Don't leave anything up to chance. Okay, as we focus on winning the next round of elections, I hope these numbers tell the story and bring home to you the importance of every single vote counting. All right, so then Castibros, a difference of 155 votes. Look at the Roseau Central. Yes, your constituency is also.
Yeah, difference of 3.
Difference of 3 votes. 1 to 3. 3 votes.
Certainly.
I mean, this is even when I was doing this, I could not believe it. I mean, I knew it, but putting it down in black and white, as we have tonight, it just draws home this very powerful message. And we have the Roseau North. Okay, I have 153.8, but that cannot be correct. Yeah, yes. Roseau North, UWP 1538, DLP 1655. That's when Daniel lost the very first time. A difference of 170 votes. Wesley constituency, DLP 809, Workers 734, difference of 75 votes. Then the Roseau Valley, again, very, very small there, 278 vote difference. And Sally Bear, 329 vote difference. Again, 8 constituencies, a grand total of 964 votes.
Wow.
That's how much we lost after the $20 million expenditure by the Dominica Labour Party and the United Workers' Party not having a fraction of those resources. The people of Dominica still supported the UWP. So what that tells me is that when you hear about those big results, so 18-3, you think it's a crushing defeat. It's not.
It's not. It's not.
964 votes. And then, as I told you, in one constituency, we overcame Joshua Francis in 2014, got a net over 1,000 votes that he was able to claw back from Labour.
Right.
And you have those votes spread over 8 constituencies. All right. So that tells you that notwithstanding the big spending by this government, notwithstanding the importation of voters to selected communities, the numbers tell you that the people truly support the United Workers' Party. Because if you remove, for example, in these 2009 elections, if you were to remove the number of persons who came to the Grand Forks, I know in Grand Forks we had over 50 people who showed up, a loss of 5 votes. In La Plaine, over 200 people showed up, a loss of 2 votes. In Cassibrus, we had over 220 people show up, a loss of 155. And the story was repeated in several of those constituencies where you just had just this huge, number of people. In the Wesley constituency, for example, we had over 100 people showing up, brought down by the Labour Party, and only 75. Right? So that's 964 votes that we lost the 2009 elections by. All right. So that's 2009. We are going to look now at 2014. And that's the election, that's the first election that I participated in. And I believe you as well, so?
Yes. No, this was Isaac.
Oh, that was, of course, that was Joseph Isaac. Having won the Roseau seat. So again, that's UWP, we now move from 3 seats, some of the same seats I was talking about, the 2, the 3, the 5, and so on. Those very close seats are now coming home, except, of course, we know what happened in Grand Forks. And, my good votes were rejected, and that prevented us from getting this extra seat there. But you could see, if you look at the seats that we won, that was added upon, it was, 3 of those seats there. The Roseau Central seat that we lost by 3 votes in the previous one. The Wesley that we lost by 75 votes. We brought that in 2014. And the other one was the, which one? Cassibrus? Roseau North, sorry. Roseau North, yeah. Roseau North was the one we added. So you see, we had a difference of 117 in Roseau North. That was erased the following election cycle. Wesley of 75 votes was erased. And I said it was Roseau Valley and Roseau Central, 3 votes that was erased. And we came very, very close to Grand Forks and Cassibrus and La Plaine. Okay, but again, the vexing influence of votes brought into those seats painted a different outcome. Okay, that's so right. Here we are now in 2014. I just wanted to show you, but go back and show you in 2014. Again, Monjon, 8 votes. That's when I contested. Cassibrus, 158 votes. La Plaine, a difference of 64 votes. The Roseau Valley came into play there, 102 vote difference. And the St. Joseph constituency, a difference of 257 votes. Total 589. All right. So we lost the 20, although we only gained 6 seats, but in 2014, we had a loss of only 589 votes. I say only 589 because if you were to look at it in a different way, for example, if I go back just very briefly to the 2009 elections, you see there, so we have the difference of 5 votes, 5 and 2, that is 7, and 3, that is 10 votes. So you have 3 constituencies where you have 10 votes difference. 3 constituencies, 10 votes. All right.
Yes, I'm saying they're right there.
Yeah. And then we look
here. Yes.
And here now we are seeing just the 8 votes. So total of 589. So again, the spending is at its highest by this Labour Party regime. Money is flowing in from the sale of CBI passports. Money is set aside by this government to charter the planes.
Plane flying from New York all over the world.
New York, yeah, exactly. We saw it. The ferries coming in with simply tens of hundreds of people. And at the end of the day, the best that they could do was 589.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that's very interesting. So we're able to bring it down by 589. Okay. That is 2014. Then let's look at 2019 when this thing really got ridiculous, and that is what forced us as a party to say, no, we cannot go for another election with that kind of cheating, with that kind of political influence, with that kind of vote stealing, with that level of the importation of voters, and hence the boycott of the next election in 2022. Right. So we don't consider 2022 as a legitimate election.
No.
I'm not even looking at those numbers. But if you were to look at the 2022 numbers, you would see that the Labour Party vote went way down. Less than 40% voted for them in 2022. All right. So that tells you already that they're out of favor with the Dominican public. But in 2019, we went back from 6 seats to 3 seats. The DLP claimed 18 seats. But again, even then, even if they're 3 and 18 seats, it's not a big gain because if you go back, you see that 1,318.
Right.
If you go back to the last time they had 18-3, it was only 964
votes. Yeah.
Right. So it means that they moved from 964 to 1,003. That is less than 400 votes.
100 votes, exactly.
Less than a net gain of 400 votes, costing a few extra tens of millions of dollars. All right. So you get where I'm coming from.
Yeah, yes, of course.
Exactly what I'm saying.
Of course.
That, the Labour Party poses as if they're such a popular government, that they're such a dominant government in the island politics. That is simply not true. The numbers don't lie. The numbers absolutely do not lie. It shows that the Dominican public are fed up and tired of this administration. So even when 1,003, so the highest margin by which the government has defeated the United Workers' Party is 1,318 votes. And again, if you consider that in one election, we were able to claw back over 1,000 Labour votes, that tells me so we're extremely well poised for the next general election in 2028.
Yes, and if I was to make my observation, and we already have reaction from the audience. Somebody saying that means that based on the figures, you guys need to stay on the ground and work hard on the ground. That's a fact. And we need to be closer to the people. But I'm saying, notwithstanding, and by the way, we've been working hard, notwithstanding our limited resources, notwithstanding that the Labour Party has actually went into high gear, we've actually still in elections, doing what it is they have to do with but using state resources to do all what they have to do. In fact, I was even told when they increased the number of NEP workers, a guy told me he put up flags for Labour Party right, under NEP, and he had to collect his check from the Treasury. He had to collect his check from the Treasury. So the campaign actually ran. The campaign actually ran on government resources. And so, Doc, you are right. But notwithstanding all of this, and I'm getting it that the patrons and the audience and the people who supposed to come out and vote, that should build their confidence that it is not a magic to turn these things over. And it will take their effort, our effort, and everyone's effort to actually get that victory. And so it is doable, I can say. But Doc, while we actually look at the statistics and the figures don't lie for you, so that's the true revelation. That's what was revealed based on what you did, the analysis that you did. So what now can we say are the terrible practices that the Labour Party has been involved in to do that? Because not that we were not working, not that we could have done more as well on the ground. All of us could have done more. But against the odds, against what we were fighting, I believe we were in a good place, and we have to congratulate the Dominican people for coming out. But notwithstanding what the kind of monies that the Labour Party plowed into that past election cycle, what is it that can alert the people of that was so wrong about the elections?
That is something. So I'm going to talk about that in a while. But let me just complete this one screen, and then we'll talk about it, because here we have the, if you like, this summary
yes.
of the elections. All right, that really. Oh, I missed out 2009. Yeah, I suspect in my rush. Yeah, I missed 2009. But you kind of get the idea. 2009 was 964.
960 something.
64, yeah. So 83, 210, 589, and 1,318. So right. what that metric shows effectively is that the elections can be won. And as this person rightly said, what it shows that we have to stay on the ground. And I think that's what that is speaking to. What this tells me also is that we have to do our share. We have fought the fight with respect to electoral reforms. We have been out there talking about electoral reform, talking about the need, for us to really, be able to get what is required. And it's proven to be very difficult, although we ended up with a confirmation process that should start next month, in a few days, in a couple of weeks' time, that should start. But I think what this shows is that we have to continue to fight for reform, because it's clear if reforms existed going back to 2009, these last 3 election cycles would have seen a different result. There's just no question in my mind, at least, that we would have seen a different result as far as the elections are concerned. And so I believe that what we need to be very mindful of is that our elections, at least over the last few election cycles, have been neither free nor fair. And that has been echoed by several missions, observer missions, CARICOM, OAS, Commonwealth. They have all been saying the same thing, that the elections are neither free nor fair. And that's the reason why some of us have even gone to jail for that chant of elections. We have paid a price because we've stood up. We have stood up requesting change. We have stood up requiring that this change come. And so that is something that we are very, very mindful of. That we need to continue to push for those reforms, and I would like to encourage our listeners, so as we look at those numbers, especially our supporters, to let them understand that these numbers that we see tonight are numbers that we as a party can overcome in a general election. Okay, and that's the reason why we would like them, when elections are called, to come out in their numbers, number one, and then to try their best to convince 1 or 2 people. Right, so that where we have those very low margins, we'll be able to erase those margins. Okay, and so it's an ongoing battle. We have gotten part of the reforms that we wanted, not everything, but we'd like to encourage our listeners, even as we speak on this issue tonight, so encourage our listeners to ensure that they are confirmed.
Yes.
Okay, it's important that they get confirmed, and for confirmation, what is required is a passport and a birth paper, or a social security card and a birth paper, or a driver's license and a birth paper. These are the things that are required for confirmation. If you do not have a passport or a social security card or a driver's license, because I'm guessing that practically everyone would have a birth paper, or they would have access to a birth paper through the registry. So at least they can get access to the birth paper. So what they would need in this case would be an affidavit from someone who knows them in the community. It has to be from the same community. An affidavit, a written affidavit saying that this is the person, and a picture as well that confirms that this is a true image of the individual. Okay, so that's why it's very important that our people take note of that and begin the preparation, so that when the centers open, as we expect them to in October, on October the 15th, that they will be out there ready to go.
Yes, and also too, well, I'm happy you said that. And just before we move on to where you will explain with respect to the form that is required for when the enrollment officers begin their work with respect to confirming persons who are on the electors list, present electors, current electors list. I know for sure I participated in the 2019 elections, and we have had a lot of discrepancies. We ourselves, we've sworn in some affidavits to state some of the discrepancies that we experienced in Rosa Central. We've had persons come and vote in the line who did not even know their names and had their names written on a piece of paper, and they had to present it to the presiding officer. But yeah, what is interesting about it, and Doc, I don't know if that would necessitate, part of electoral reform, because yeah, what it is, we have not had a chance to ventilate our matter for the courts. Because even though the matter was held behind closed doors, and not necessarily held, but they wanted us to disclose our evidence. There's not a matter. The matter has to be ventilated for the courts. And so we had a good chance of winning, according to Judge Glasgow's summary, that Rosa Central had a good case. But yeah, what happened? If Rosa Central had a good case, and Rosa Central was not given the chance to have the matter ventilated in the court so that we could bring the evidence, so that at least when we brought it forward, at least the evidence would show that we justify our position that election fraud did take place, and that would possibly turn over the results. Why then would you have a person who we are actually putting forward against some measures that we say that is not free and fair, but yet the person has sworn in as the parliamentary representative of that constituency? I don't think it's fair, because that's after the fact. And what is happening is that the persons who've done the fraudulent act, their votes were counted as positive, giving the other side or an incumbent a win. And so, well, it's unfair all how you look at it, whereby while we have election petition ongoing, that the seat is given to someone. I feel to myself that until such time that the matter can be dealt with in an expeditious manner, the seat should not be declared. It should be declared after that a hearing has been heard in the quickest possible time, and that the court declared, well, this is the legitimate thing. So that's my concern about that. But Doc, as we on this, we know that as part of the confirmation process, also there's a form that you must fill up with the necessary biodata. So can you just give us light on that, because a lot of people have been asking, is it just an ID and a birth certificate, or in the absence of an ID, you could use an affidavit of identity and a birth certificate? What else is required, and what else the birth certificate confirming has to do?
Okay, so basically, when the individual goes in to do the confirmation, they will be given a form.
Right.
It's called a form 13.
Right.
And on this form, they will indicate just the basic information: name, constituency, address, father's name, mother's name, basic information. So they're confirming their name on a particular constituency. Okay, so that form 14 has to be filled out. Importantly, the individuals having done that, they must be given a receipt by the returning officer. And it's very important that they hold that receipt and certificate that they have to hold on to, okay, because that is very, very important, and that will be useful for future use. Okay, so that will be your evidence that you have in fact confirmed. All right, this confirmation certificate that has to be issued by the officer doing the registration. So once that is done, then you'll be able to do that. You'll say that you're in fact confirmed. Okay.
Yes.
So I wanted
Yes.
to just keep this up for persons who might have come a bit late. I wanted to keep this slide up there. Not showing this on my phone. I saved it.
Oh yes, it's visible and we can see it. Very good.
Yeah, but I thought I had made the change for the okay, I'm going to do it again. The change for the
2014.
Yeah, we have
960 something votes.
The 2009 one.
Oh, 2009. Okay, good.
Yeah,
but Doc, while you're doing that though, as we were saying earlier, the statistics tells us a lot. And by the way, we are using also the statistics to create our strategy. So rest assured the audience that we are looking at the statistics, and there is what you call a plan in the making to ensure that we will come exactly these figures and how we could translate these figures into our favor. So we're not going to disclose exactly what we are going to do, but rest assured that we are planning intensely to ensure that these figures are turned or are actually reversed right in our favor, right? So we're doing that. But Doc, I want to reiterate this point because a number of persons, they are frustrated over time. They keep saying that the Labour Party will steal elections over and over again. And it appears that many persons are frustrated and may not really want to participate in elections. But tonight, I will have the voice to say to you that based on what you've seen, based on what you've heard with respect to the figures, that it is doable. And it is doable when you can participate. Because the interesting thing that happens is that we are taking the risk. We are putting all the resources in place. We're actually exposing ourselves to represent your interest. You cannot leave us alone. You have to participate. You have to support. You have to get confirmed and ready to vote out this government. Because until such time that this government is removed from office, we will never see the light of a brighter economy. So it is important that you participate. And so, Doc, just to reiterate for the call so that people can participate, it is important that people understand that once they fully agree to come out in large numbers and be confirmed as they being on the list, saying, yes, I am that, I'm confirmed, get the green light, yes, and you are ready to go to vote on this government, because we can do, the numbers are very close and we can do it. Oftentimes, based on the bribery situation, they even pay some of our members that to go and vote. You're supposed to be able to resist that and say, no, enough is enough. We got the end, We are all going to suffer. You are the ones going to suffer. We are ready to contest elections on your behalf. And I've said it before, though. We've all worked and done well for ourselves. Now is the time for the people. We have the people at heart. We have done what we had to do. We have worked ourselves and acquire what we had to acquire. We don't need government to acquire wealth. We've done what we had to do. We are only doing that in the interest of the people. So I would like you to exhort upon the people again, based on what you have compiled, based on the analysis of the figures you've presented here tonight, that is incumbent on them, the electorate, to come out and to vote out this government en masse.
Yes, so in fact, let me just do this. Let me bring the numbers back up. I find it to be, so we're gonna keep it there.
Yes,
because that's very important. Because I want people to understand that in terms of just the raw numbers, it is not as difficult. What has been difficult for us is the stance of this Labour Party government that they want to remain in office at all costs, and they have really gone out. They know about those numbers, right? They know it just as much as well as we do, and that's the reason why they've been able to go across the world and bring people in selected communities. So you will not find them bringing people down to vote in the Grand Bay constituency or the Portsmouth constituency, some constituencies like that, because they feel they have a sufficient majority there. But where you have what we call the battleground states or constituencies, where it's a toss-up, it has gone back and forth over the years, that is where they focused on. And that is why, in particular for our supporters in those constituencies, that is where they need to double down. So our supporters in the Monjan constituency, Cassie-Rose constituency, La Plaine constituency, the Kalinago constituency, the Wesley constituency, Roseau North, Roseau Central, Roseau Valley, Mao St. Joseph, those constituencies that we believe that we're able to win, it's important that firstly, our constituents go out there and confirm. That has to be an important thing that they must do, because it's only by confirming that your name remains on the voters list after the year. If over this year you have not done it, then your name will be removed from the list. So you need to ensure that your name remains, which gives you the opportunity to be able to vote when next elections are called. And so just looking at those numbers again, looking at the differences of votes, the only time it went over 1,000 votes was in 2019. Now, that is remarkable when you consider that the total voting population is about 44,000 people. Okay, so 44,000 people go to vote, and 1,300 votes is what divides us from government.
Government, yeah.
44,000. That's another way of looking at it. 44,000 people are voting, and at the end of the day, the vote is decided by 1,318 individuals. That's the largest margin over the 5-year cycles. And so what this tells me is that our supporters need to double down with their support for the party, one. Secondly, they need to be out there talking to their friends and neighbors, because after 25 years of Labour Party rule, it is clear that this country deserves to breathe, that this country needs a change, that the work has not been done by this government in terms of developing the people, in terms of building the country, in terms of taking us from a state of poverty to a real middle-class living. In terms of wages, they have not performed there. They have created a double society of haves and have-nots. So you name it. I mean, anything, health statistics, education statistics, economic statistics, you just name it. In all of those measures, we see a failure by this government. So this is the opportunity that we have to take back the reins of government. And those numbers will let you understand that half the work is already done. But the other half is just as hard, it is just as challenging, because we now have to convince our neighbor. Because if you convince enough of our people locally, where they've spent those millions of dollars to bring people in, and they can only muster 1,300 votes to win, it means that if we talk to our neighbors, the over 17,000 voters we have in the party, they talk to our neighbors, we can do this thing, So I am very happy and I'm very pleased that we are getting there, that the work on the ground continues. But I also wanted to respond as well to someone who is asking, when is the deadline for confirmation? Well, it should last 1 year. It's
1 year, yes.
The 15th of October to the 15th of September, and there may be a 3-month extension depending on what the electoral office sees. They have the option to go up
to do that
up to 3 months. Okay, but people have more than enough time to get this done. And there was another very interesting question that I saw that I also wanted to respond to.
Yeah, but also somebody saying there too, though, the only thing that seems to persuade Dominican voters after 20 years is a red envelope. And that's a fact, but I see something on a different level. I see too that will be red envelope when they open it. it doesn't really define that is the value that they're worth. And so, yes, the person I'm writing that is correct, but I do know too after some person open the envelope that they are very disappointed. But also too, Doc, while we are talking about it, and while some people saying yes, you have to be on the ground, we must also tell our patriots and the persons listening and the persons that are tuned in that we are on the ground. We are having community engagements. We are talking about the four-pillar plan and this plan can impact the lives of Dominicans in a positive way, because you know that this government has forgotten the local people and their focus is on foreigners. In fact, Dominicans have become technically second-class citizens in their own land because of the Labour Party policy. And so we are on the ground educating people about the 10-pillar plan. We
And
also
in
on the
fact,
ground.
so you should let them know that we are next Thursday.
Yeah, well,
in
next.
your constituency.
I was just coming to that. And we've had the first phase of meetings. We are on the second phase now, and Roseau Central will be on the 9th of October at the Public Service Center. So we will continue to educate the nation. We'll continue to engage the people. And besides just the engagement in a town hall style, we're on the ground actually meeting persons, interpersonal contact, face to face. We meet groups, the gangs on the side of the road, and these people are so depressed. We meet family members, we walk into the homes. We are most welcome all over. There is, in fact, the Lapin constituency up to on Saturday. They had a games night, and Honorable Francisca Joseph, who's the caretaker, was actually there leading the cause, and the person who, leading this constituency, and all of the patriots in this area, they were doing things to put the people together. And so that's what we are doing in terms of interacting, educating, and to bring home that victory for the people of Dominica. Because we are doing it for the people of Dominica by and large. And so, Doc, I really want to encourage Dominicans that while we do our best, you must help us. You must help us win. You have to help us win. We are helping you. You have to help us. We are helping your cause. We are out there actually, facing the rigor and the wrath of this government. And after 24 years, 20 plus years, they just cannot do away with us. In fact, one laborer told me, boy, what happened to you all guys? You all have more energy than anything else. Why are you all not backing up? Calbo say you all is more there. That's why, and he said, no, it means that you are not Calbo saying us enough. Where you're fighting. So we have built a resilient, society with respect to us in the opposition. And we are steadfast, we are even more resilient, we are even more resolute to get things done. So we need your support. Help us to help you. And so we have to do that. But Doc, by and large, I know, let me compliment you for the work that you do. And I know that
yes, but also just before you kind of wind down, I wanted to respond to a query there from one of our listeners. And that says, interesting statistical analysis, but how do we convert this to our favor? The electoral office is controlled de facto by the DLP. Treating and bribery have been removed from the statutes. Okay,
that's right.
And that's a very important point. So it's basically saying, it's still going to be a tough fight. And let me be very clear about this. I am not saying that it's not going to be a bruising fight. We expect a bruising fight. And especially on a field that is not level. We are not on a level playing field by no means. The Labour Party will still try its best, as it has done in the past, because that's how they know to win. I don't see them changing their skin in the next election, especially now with so much discontent, so many Labourites saying that they will no longer be voting for them. So they're going to go hard at it, and we have to be prepared for a really tough fight. But at the end of the day, I have every belief in the people of Dominica. I have every confidence that our supporters will help us, as you've requested them to. So we need them to be able, and then just to speak to your neighbor. It does not take much. You are more closely linked to your neighbor than we ever can be on the national executive of the party. And you can use these opportunities to talk to them. Let them understand that there is a United Workers' Party Team Dominica that has a serious plan to build this country and to take us forward under the 10 pillars of shared prosperity. So let them know that. Let them know that there is something exciting happening. and gain their confidence. Take it upon yourself to convert one or two of your friends. That's all we're asking. Imagine, so if every one of our supporters converts just one person who has voted for the Labour Party in the past, and they convert this one person, we win this election by a huge margin. That's all it takes. So the question is, can each of our supporters convert at least one person? That is the challenge I'm sending out there. So the way we turn this around is, one, to encourage our supporters to help us by doing the work, to help us by going out there and ensuring that the people that they speak to, their neighbors and so on, get the message and they do what is necessary. Okay, so that is extremely important. The appeal is for supporters to help us, but importantly, as a party, we'll continue to engage the public. We'll be having, in addition to the town halls, we are going to be having a series of public meetings across the country. We'll continue our one-on-one constituency engagements on the day of the meetings and of the town halls. So after the 9th, on the 9th, we'll be in Roseau Central at the PSU Center. Then on the 16th, we go to the Kalinago territory. All right, that's where we've seen a lot of dynamism, a lot of great things going on there in the Kalinago territory. So we will be there on the 16th with the town hall at 7 o'clock. So we encourage all of our people there. Transportation will be arranged. It's a big constituency. So we'll arrange transportation within the constituency to bring people to this central spot. So already start planning for that. So that's what we can do on our end. We'll be able to, we can do the outreach, we can do the town halls, we can do the public meetings. But at the end of the day, we do believe firmly that the people have to help us. We need your help. We cannot do this alone. And so it's an exciting time. So I can tell you, having looked at those numbers, it is very invigorating to see, that these are numbers that we can overcome. These are numbers that we can pull in, and we'll do the hard work. We'll do what is necessary.
Yes, because earlier on I said that free election means that all those entitled to vote have the right to be registered and to vote and must be free to make their choice. But what has happened in recent times, though, and I want you to just sort of, put some, bearing to this, that in recent times the electoral office and the law states or stipulates clearly that the Registration of Electors Act, that continuous registration must happen. And in recent times, a number of persons have been, even those it's based in my constituency, have been asking for or going to register or have been requesting to be registered for the first time. And there's a pause in that. And also to some persons, because a notice was sent out to the public by the electoral office stating that persons wishing to change their addresses, their names, and even their voting area asked to actually come and do so. And when they come, they say even if it was done, they don't know when it's going to be transferred or when it is going to be actually back in terms of exchange. So what is going on? Because that's a violation of the Constitution itself when you talk about continuous voting, and that should never happen. Because in spite of we waiting for reconfirmation, you have ongoing registration, like new registration, that has never stopped. And if you have to have a free and fair election, persons who have to be registered must be registered. Your take on that, though?
Yeah, it's something that's a bit worrisome, but we were told by the electoral office that they were changing the forms around, and it was more of a clerical type of thing that they were doing to change it. And so once that was completed, they would be able to restart. So, let's hope that is soon, and that we can get new registrants going, because as the confirmation process continues or starts on the 15th of October, the registration should be continuing apace, because there are new persons who are just turning 18 and who wants to register. There are others who may be over the age of 18, but who may have never voted in Dominica and want the opportunity to see a change in government. And talking about a change in government, there's a very nice one there from one of our listeners there. who says, and if I can read it, it's a very interesting post. All right, it says yes, the UWP can do more and needs to do more as far as groundwork is concerned. With that being said, no one needs to convince Dominicans that their lives has become more difficult over the past 25 years. No one should have to motivate anyone to vote for change because their lives, their livelihoods, and that of their family depends on it.
Well
I could not
said.
have said it better.
Yes.
I could not have said it better. I mean, that is exactly right. People are seeing it. People are feeling the pinch, and they should not allow instant gratification in the form of a $200 or $500 or even $1,000 or $10,000. This instant money spending that we've seen over the past election cycle, they should not allow that instant gratification to cloud or to let them forget their state as far as the economy is concerned and their own lives, the livelihoods of themselves and their families. Let them not forget that. That's very important. That's extremely important. I want to thank the viewer for this very insightful comment.
Yes, and one other person is saying that the current spate of gun violence in Dominica is a direct result of bad governance. Whenever you have a bad or sluggish economy, crimes and violence becomes commonplace because the people becomes desperate, frustrated, and easily angered. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact. And
yes, indeed. And another one. I mean, the comments are coming fast and furious tonight. So I don't know if you're able to see it and read it.
I'm reading some. You
okay, so you're able to read the one that's on the screen right now.
Yes. Motivation of the patriots who may have given up because of the stealing over the various election cycle is key. And yes, I agree. And that is why we have been saying we motivate them through going on the ground, touching flesh, interacting, interpersonal, face-to-face, group meeting. We meet them in group setting on the blocks. We go to their homes and we so engage them with respect to our community engagements, the town hall style meetings, and so on. So some community meetings as well. We meet them in the church. We meet them at funerals. So we are well. We know what is required in terms of the social setting.
Exactly what this individual is saying. So
yes,
yeah.
In the rum shop, everywhere we meet them.
Yes,
and we're on the ground. And one guy told me, Doc, I know you're sarcastic on that one. He said, Doc, and I know the economy will be bright under his watch. He said that. So I know it is beyond just. And as I'm saying that, I just want to say that I traversed the Carib territory or the Kalinago territory, where you have nice paved roads and you have the divider on the road and you have that nice reflector on the divider and so. And in the night, it really glitters and so. And if one has just arrived in Dominica and you pass on that road, you would want to take the glitter as if that the economy is, in its, shining armor. No, that's not the case. If you look, and for Dominicans who are coming and returning back to Dominica, I want you to observe one thing. It's not criticizing. The road, fairly good road throughout the Carib territory and Casibus come up to Pocassi. But look on both sides of the road. You will see if you are not noticing an absence of agriculture. Now that you have roads, what is the value of that road now? What does it bring? It is a shame to see most of our prime lines have been left to fallow, have been left, abandoned, and they are not managed. The people are not, farmers are disgusted. They do not have the resources. Some of them are aging. We do not have a replacement from, the aging to a young, dynamic, professional group of persons coming up to take up the mantle. We have not had many success stories being told in agriculture so people can actually follow. It's just amazing. And it's amazing. There's another one, Doc, that says that Roosevelt Skerrit may plan well. He will place his paid voters to vote in strategic areas. However, the Dominican people are the ones who will ultimately decide who wins and who loses. If a significant number of Dominicans living on island decide to vote their conscience and vote on policy and unfulfilled promises of the last 25 years, then we will vote against Roosevelt Skerrit and the Dominican Labour Party. After all, their future and that of their children and children is of concern, and that's what they are voting for. So, Doc, this again
Very
comes
well
up
said. Very
very
well
well
said
said.
indeed.
And I think that's the best way to conclude this exercise tonight. So, Doc, let me just say to you that we're really out of time, but let me just thank you for the work that you do and the continued engagement that you've been involved with the people of Dominica. I want to thank the many members of Team Dominica who have been on the ground and the other caretakers and candidates who are on the ground doing their work. We are connecting, we are doing the work which is required. We want to tell you that the people of Dominica, we are motivated. We are even more motivated to get the work done. We need your support, and we need to say to you that with your support, we'll be even more driven in higher gear to ensure that the work is done and to accomplish the mission to ensure that this government is no more, and to put a working team under Dr. Thompson Fontaine, world-renowned economist, who I'm sure and confident will bring back prosperity to this country with respect to the economy. We need a buoyant economy, and you can only have a buoyant economy if you put someone who is well trained, who is a professional, who is well poised, who is ready, who has helped other nations recapture the good sense and value of the economy. And that too, he has the skills, the expertise to ensure that he can do it for Dominica. So, Doc, your parting words before we put down the curtains on this program.
Well, just to say, thank you to our many listeners and others and for the comments as well. And then to ask our people to remember the numbers, okay? All right, so remember the numbers. The Labour Party is beatable. We will win the next general election, but we can only do so with the support of the people on the ground. Okay, we can only do so with your support. And that's why when we come to you through the town halls, through the constituency engagement, through the public meetings, we want you to embrace us as a party. And more importantly, we would like, as we said earlier, each of our supporters to make it their goal to convince at least one person who has not voted for the United Workers' Party before to vote for us, okay? If you can do that for us, then we'll be well on our way. What we can do in the meantime is to give you a commitment that we'll not stop working, we'll not stop being on the ground, because that has been the call and the cry from our supporters over and over again. That is our plan. We're doing it. We're engaging, probably not as much as we want to, but we're building up as we build up towards elections. Whenever the elections are called, we will be in a position to fight. So that's what we're doing. We're fighting for you. We're fighting for the future of this country. And we appreciate your support, and thank you for just embracing us with that support as we go forward towards victory in the next election.
So having said that, we say good night to all. Thanks for participating. We know this is a highly participatory program, and we enjoy your company and your questions and your suggestions. We'll act on them, and we will make life better for all of us. We'll do what we need to do. You have been putting pressure on us. We have adhered to the call. We are actually responding to the call. Until next time, next Monday on the 6th of October, God's willing, we'll be back with Real Talk with our political leader, Dr. Thompson Fontaine. Until such time, we say good night. Adios. Hasta luego.
Good night.
Buenas noches.